So it's become quite apparent now that there are many celebrities within the film industry, within the Hollywood bubble, that are just completely collapsing as we speak. Those out there like Julia Roberts, George Clooney, Jimmy Kimmel, that's just to name a few, by the way. We could go on and on for hours, naming, of course, all the different celebrities, whether it's actors, actresses, producers, directors, writers. I mean, it expands all of Hollywood. Ever since what happened on November the 5th, we have seen multiple meltdowns in a row. Now, one of which has a lot to do with no other than Julia Roberts. Now, we talked about this, about how George Clooney has been desperately trying to go on a train or a series of interviews to either apologize or to set the record straight or to share his side of the political story to really gain back his lost fans. He's in full-on damage control mode right now behind the scenes in a desperate move to really piece all the broken pieces together again. And Julia Roberts essentially went into damage control before him, publicly of course, and sabotaged all of that. Let's dive into this. This is Mike Zero. Subscribe if you're new and like this video to see future updates. You can also follow me at Mike01. I thank you also very much for the great and kind support. So we know that both Julia and George, they are universally rejected at this point, not just within the States, but of course globally. Nobody wants to watch their films anymore. Nobody wants to support these actors anymore, especially after they engaged in politics in a such in-your-face way, right? After that political commercial. We'll talk about that in just a second. But Julia Roberts, she did speak a couple of days ago, and she's speaking once again, and she is making things a whole lot worse for George Clooney. Now, not that I'm defending the guy, I'm just saying she's making it a whole lot harder for him to basically go into his own form of damage control and to really kind of balance things out. So let's get into this, alright? Now, on top of everything here, with those like Julia Roberts and George Clooney receiving the most backlash ever right now after they promoted a political commercial that supported the concept of lying to your spouse, one major development going on now involves Julia Roberts once again going into damage control mode in the midst of the ongoing backlash that only dug a deeper hole for George Clooney. Julia delivered the following. As a woman, it's very important that we can identify two types of men in this country. On one side, you have toxic masculinity, and on the other side, we have proud male feminists who stand up for women and their beliefs, and one of those people that I admire most is George Clooney, who I got the chance to speak with recently, and all I could say right now is that he is very frustrated with the way men are acting right now, weeks after the election. Toxic masculinity is a growing issue, and I discussed this with George, and we both agree that it needs to be handled. George and I both believe it's male feminists as one of the most important contributors to society, and how it functions so well. These are very kind people that are open to change, however, only positive change. We both agree that the toxic behavior that he and I have received has not only been unfair, but it has been openly offensive and childish to us as actors who dedicated our lives to providing the roles in films to the world, and that is something I think someone like George needs to be respected for. I will say it right now, and I'll say it again. It's something George doesn't always like to admit, but he is a proud male feminist and activist who really wants to contribute to society and to evolve it no matter what the cost is to his career. I think right now, he's just talking, he's just taking some time away from politics. I don't think it's the right choice, but he felt it was best for him. But he feels it's right to research other issues, world issues, to raise awareness of what's really going on in the world. You see, these are the qualities of male feminists. They are probably some of the best people and some of the best activists out there, especially in this business within the film industry, and I couldn't be more proud of him. There are going to be a lot of angry people, particularly grown men, who are sexist and misogynist that want nothing to do with actors like us, and it's to be, of course, expected, honestly. I think George was right on what he said weeks ago, that you just can't trust your inner social circle. You need to look up to public figures that hold value and are following a series of rules, just by respect. Guys, before I get into the big conclusion about what Julia Roberts closes with, let me just say this, is that she is obviously either intentionally or unintentionally, who knows, I think it's unintentional to be honest, but who knows in this day and age, she is driving George Clooney into the ground. She's basically putting him in a position where he can't even do damage control himself. He can't even make his, of course, situation better now. She's saying, of course, she had a talk with him recently, that he's so proud of being a male feminist, that it's something that he doesn't really like to talk about publicly all the time because of the quote-unquote stigma. And basically, what she also admitted is she believes that there's only two demographics of men. One, male feminist. Two, of course, toxic men. That's all she has to say. There's no in between. There's no different, routes. It's ridiculous. These are the types of people that are in Hollywood. These are the types of people that have been in Hollywood since day one for decades upon decades now. It only got really worse, I believe, once the 2000s started to kick in, especially the 2010s, is where you really began to see a lot of these actors falling into politics, falling into activism, and it really just tarnished their careers. I mean, just look at Mark Hamill. Have you guys not seen Mark Hamill, who also went on a complete meltdown a couple of days ago? I believe it was on iHeartRadio, correct me if I'm wrong, but he was on video, with other public figures out there, and he was really saying about how upset he was, and how upset he is now, and how he doesn't care how much of an impact it has on his career. Well, this is exactly what Julie is basically saying of what George supposedly believes in, whether it's true or not, whether she's just making this up about George, who knows. But I think regardless, this is driving him into the ground even further. This is digging a bigger hole for him. And now there's really no way out for him at all. Even if he wanted to lie on, let's say, shows, for example, like Jimmy Kimmel, or whatever it may be, whatever show or podcast he goes on, even if he lied, he had Julia Roberts, who is basically considered one of his greatest peers in Hollywood, saying all these wacky things. Now, again, to close here, she goes on to conclude, and that's why those of us in this business are the most trustworthy. Those like myself, George, and many others that really want to get involved and have been involved in activism and really exposing the flaws in this country that are right in front of us. If I had the chance to go back months ago to change our strategy on how to win for the next 4 years, I don't think George or I would have changed a thing. So she's saying that she and George would have never changed a thing if you went back to, like, let's say June or July, about the whole, election and how everything was building up toward that. So again, I mean, I think a lot of these actors and actresses, and I've said this so many times to the point where it's, I'm sure, making your head spin, honestly, but it needs to be said, when you look at things like this, anybody who's a musician, an actor, actress, political figure, whatever, or should I say not a political figure, but anyone dragging politics or dragging political figures into their careers, right? Whether it's entertainment or show business, you're just going to alienate over half of your actual fans or your followers, viewers, whatever have you. That's exactly what's been happening, especially in 2024, and it's going to continue to happen in 25, because some of these actors just don't get it. They don't want to let go. They want to continue to keep spewing the same nonsense that they have been spewing, just like Julia Roberts and George Clooney have been doing. But overall, I would love to hear what you all have to say about Julia Roberts really driving George Clooney into the ground permanently, because there's no way out for him now to basically go on his own train of damage control. So I would like to hear what you all have to say about this below in the comments, and if you guys did enjoy the content for today, make sure to drop a thumbs up on this video to support the channel, and I will catch you guys later.